Hi, good morning, everyone. In this session, we would like to present our material about conversational messages. So, before that, we would like to introduce our member. My name is Tina Susanti, and my partners is Karen Kolia, Megawati, and Sarli Puspita. Before we start on our topic, we need to know what is the conversation means. So, according to McLaughlin 1984, conversation is an essential part of interpersonal communication and may be defined simply as informal social interaction. So, in interpersonal communication, a conversation is an informal exchange of ideas, information, and feelings between two or more people. So, it is a collaborative process that involves both verbal and nonverbal communications. We know that conversations are essential for building a relationships, sharing knowledge, and resolving the conflict. Okay, so we move into the principles of conversations. There are two, the principles of process and the principles of cooperation. The first one is the principles of process, and the first stage is the opening stage, which is the beginning of the conversation. In this stage, the participant establishes a connection and set the tone for the conversation, which we call emphatic communication. This may involve a greeting, small talks, for example, like "Hi, how are you?" Okay, in this opening stage, there are some elements of interpersonal communication that can open a conversation. The first one is self reference. It says something about ourselves, such as name, rank, or serial number. For example, like, "Hi, my name is Tina, I'm from Indonesia." And the second one is other reference. It says something about the other person or ask a question. For example, like, "I like your sweater, I like your shirt. Didn't we meet at Sudirman Street?" Like that. The third one is relational references. It says something about the two of you. For example, like, "May I buy you a coffee?" or "May I join you?" Like that. And the last is context references. It says something about physical, social, psychological, cultural, and temporal context. For example, like, "This restaurant seems very friendly," or "The painting is very fantastic." The second stage is feed forward. Feed forward stage is a transition from the opening stage to the business stage. In this stage, the participant review the main topics of the conversation. This may involve like stating a purpose, asking a questions, or making a request. You usually provide some kind of feed forward or preview, which gives the other person a general idea of the conversational focus. For example, like, "I have got to tell you about Mega, and we need to talk about our vacation plans," just like that. And in this stage, there are few suggestions for giving effective feed forward. The first one is use feed forward to estimate the receptivity of the person to what you are going to say. For example, like, you will probably use feed forward to test the waters and to see if you are likely to get a yes response before you asking for a date. The second one is use feed forward that consistent with your subsequent messages. If your main message is one of bad news, then your feed forwards needs to be serious and to help prepare the other person for this bad news. For example, like, "I need to tell you something that you don't want to hear." It's like that. The last one is the more important or complex the message, the more important and more extensive your feed forwards needs to be. For example, like at the start of meeting, a business meeting, the leader may give a feed forward in form of an agenda. Okay, the third stage is business stage. Business stage is the main body of the conversation. This business stage is the participant exchange information, discuss ideas, and making a decisions. This may involve sharing facts or expressing our opinions or negotiating solutions. The fourth is feedback. Feedback stage is a reflection on the conversation. In this stage, the participants summarize the key points of the conversation and check for the understanding. This may involve like asking a question or clarifying the points, providing feedback. And not all feedbacks is easy to understand. When you don't understand the meaning of the feedback, you should ask for the clarification. And the last stage is closing. The closing stage is the end of the conversation. This may involve like saying goodbye or summarizing the key points. So in this stage, there a difficult task in closing conversation. It can be awkward or uncomfortable part of interpersonal communication. So here are a few suggestions to consider. The first one is reflect on the conversation and briefly summarize it to bring it to a close. Second one is directly state the desire to end the conversation and to get on with other things. The third is ask for closure, and the next is the refer to future interaction. And the last one is state that you enjoyed the conversation.
The principle of communication conventional message held through principle. The principle of politeness, the principle of dialogue, the principle of truth-taking. What is the principle of politeness? The principle of politeness in conversational message circulate around the acts of showing respect and consideration for others. Politeness in communication also means adhering to social norms and giving respect for other people. In the context example, speaker must pay attention on their language and make sure the message are sent politely, because in words that are respectful and considerate maintains a positive tone in communication. Must also avoid using offensive language, which means that he must steer clear of offensive insensitive comment. Since it's important to keep in respectful dialogue. There are some point principle of politeness. Uh, Face theory, positive and negative politeness, politeness strategy, and cultural politeness. What is the face theory? Face theory. The concept of face in politeness theory refers to individual social identity, maintain positive face, self-esteem, autonomy, and negative face, freedom from oppression or, or treat. Politeness strategy aim to uphold both the speaker and listener face needs. Positive and negative uh, politeness. Politeness strategy can be broadly categorized into two types, which influence making the listener feel value and include, and negative politeness, which focus on minimizing threat to their listening face, being intrusive and indirect. Politeness strategy. Politeness strategy It identifies various strategies that individual employ to mitigate politeness based threat in communication. They include indirect hanging, politeness marker, example please or thank you, and mitigation technique to soften requests or efforts. Culture and politeness. Politeness norm and study vary across culture. The principle of dialogue. The principle of dialogue in conversation message refers to intentional form of conversation that are us to inform mutual and appreciation, understanding, and respect among individual and group. They are often used for the purpose of facilitating a collaboration or decision-making process between uh, each other. Each other. Intellectuals must embrace different perspective and remain open to new idea, idea which can perceive or more ensuring conversation. It is understand and Communication thought clearly can help ensure the message are understand, which reduces the misunderstanding. The last one, the principle of turn-taking, means a situation that occurs in a conversation which one person listens while the person turn-taking or refers to the organic exchange of speaking of the opportunities among participants, which means speaker along with their interlocutor or take to each other for speaking their idea or option. The point uh, of the principle of talking, participants must take turn to speak, but speak an intellectual health their own turn, which will create a flowing communication. Active listening, uh, pay attention to nonverbal signal and gets to pause, which help in transition between speaker. Participant need to allow other to finish their talk or option before responding. Uh, Participants must ensure equal distribution of speaking opportunities among authors, which will show the inclusivity of conversation.
And next, I will explain about conversational disclosure. So, what is conversational disclosure? Conversational disclosure, also known as self-disclosure, is the purpose of sharing of personal information with another person. It is a key component in developing relation intimacy and can have a significant impact on how relationships form and progress. In summary, conversational disclosure is an essential aspect of interpersonal communication that involves intentionally sharing personal information with others. It can have a significant impact on relationship development and should be approached thoughtful and carefully to maintain a healthy balance between sharing and oversharing. An example of conversational disclosure is sharing your hobbies or interests. For example, mentioning that you enjoy cooking or traveling can provide insight into your personality and interests. And the next, revealing personal preference. Sharing your favorite movie, books, or types of food can give the other person a better understanding of your taste and preference. Discussing emotional experience. Talking about your feeling emotion related to a specific event or situation can help others empathic with your strength, your connection. And the next is revealing personal achievement or goals is sharing your personal accomplishment or personal aspiration can show your ambition and motivation, fostering a sense of admiration and support. And the last is disclosing challenge or fears. Opening discussion with your struggles or concerns can help others understand your vulnerabilities and create a sense of trust and understanding. And the next, I will expand about influence of self-disclosure. Many factors influence whether or not you disclose what you disclose and to whom you disclose. Among the most important factors are the first is who you are. People who are expensive about talking in general also self-disclose less than do those who are more comfortable in communicating. Competent people and those with high self-esteem engage in self-disclosure more than less competent people and those with low self-esteem. And the next is culture. For example, Americans also reported greater self-disclosure, when communicating with other Americans than when communicating interculturally. And the next is gender. Is the research support the popular belief that women discuss more than men? Women discuss more than men about their previous romantic relationship, their feelings about their closest same-sex friend, and what they don't like about their partners. And the next is what is your topic is. You are more likely to self-disclose about some topic than others. For example, you are more likely to disclose information about your job, your hobbies, than about your life or financial situation. And the last is your media. Is the medium of channel through which you communicate also influence your disclosure? Next, I will expand on both rewards and dangers of self-disclosure. Rewards of self-disclosure. For the first, self-knowledge. It's a greater self-knowledge, a new perspective on oneself, and deeper understanding of one's behavior. And next, communication. Communication and relationship effectiveness. It helps achieve closer relationship with the person to whom one self-disclose and increase relationship stratification. And the next is psychological well-being, psychological health. People who self-disclose are less vulnerable to illness. Building rapport. In counseling, self-disclose can be a means of building rapport with clients, which is essential to the counseling relationship. For the next is dangers of self-disclosure. Personal risk is a aspect of one life disclosed very greatly from the values of those to whom one discloses. It may incur personal risks. And the next is relationship risks. Is a self-disclose can pose relation risks and threaten a relationship by causing a decrease in mutual attraction, trust, or any of the bonds holding the individual together. And the next is professional risks. In professional setting, self-disclosure can pose risks and affect one's reputation. It is important to consider the context, motivation, and potential impact of self-disclosure to ensure that it is used appropriately and effectively. And then next, I will explain about guidelines and strategies for self-disclosure. As we know, guidelines and strategies for self-disclosure are essential to maintain professionalism and building trust in various relationships and settings. Because self-disclosure is so important and so delicate a matter, guidelines are offered here to deciding whether and how self-disclose, responding to the disclosure of others, and resisting pressure to self-disclose. And then self-disclosing. Self-disclosing for the first, consider the motivation. Disclose out of appropriate motivation. Self-disclosure should be motivated by a concern for the relationship, for the others involved, and for yourself. Avoid disclosing to hurt the listener. For example, people who tell their parents that they hinder their emotional development may be disclosing out of desire, out hurt, and punish rather than desire to improve the relationship. And the next is facilitate, facilitation, facilitating and responding. Sorry. And guidelines for facilitation and responding to self-disclosure when some one disclosed to you is usually a sign of trust and affection. In serving this most important receiver function, keep the following guidelines in mind. These guidelines will also help you facilitate your disclosure of another person. And for the first, practice the skill of effective and active listening. The skill of effective and effective listening are especially important when you are listening to self-disclosures. Listen effectively. Listen for different level of meaning. Listen with empathy and listen with an open mind. Expand an understanding of the speakers, willing to allow the speakers the opportunity to see them more objectively and through the eyes of another. Ask questions to ensure your own understanding and to signal to interest and attention. And the second is support and reinforce the disclosure. Support and reinforce the disclosure. Express support for the person during and after disclosures. Concentrate on understanding and empathizing with rather than evaluating the disclosure. Make your supportiveness clear to the disclosed through your verbal and nonverbal response. Maintain your eye contact, ball response, and then lead towards the speaker, ask relevant question, and acknowledge the speakers through the feelings. And the third is be willing to reciprocate. When you make relevant and appropriate disclosure of your own in response to another person disclosure, you're, you're demonstrating your understanding of the other meanings and at the same time showing a willingness to communicate on this meaningful level. And the last is don't use disclosure against a person. Keep disclosure confidential. When a person discloses to you, it's because she or he wants you to know the feelings and thoughts that are communicated. If you reveal these disclosures to others, negative outcomes are inevitable and your relationship is almost sure to suffer. And be sure not to use the disclosure against the person. Many self-disclosure expose some kind of vulnerability or weakness. If you later turn around and use disclosure against the person who made them, you betray to confidence and trust invested in you. Regardless of how angry you may get, resist the temptation to use disclosure as weapons. And the next is resisting pressure. Guideline for resisting pressure to self-disclose. You may on occasion find yourself in a position where a friend, colleague, or romantic partner pressure you to self-disclose. In such situation, you may wish to weigh the pros and cons of self-disclose and then make the decision as to whether and what you'll disclose. If your decision is not to disclose and you're still being pressured, then you need to say something. Here are a few suggestions. Now the first, don't be passive. Although there may be certain legal or ethical reason for disclosing, generally, if you don't want to disclose, you don't have to do. Don't be pushed into disclosing because others doing it or because you're asked to. The next is be assertive in your refusal to disclose. Say very directly, it rather not talk about that now or now is not the time for this type of discussion. More specific guidelines for communication assertiveness are offered. Being there and move to another topic, avoid the question and change the subject. This is a polite way of saying, I'm not talking about it and may be preferred choice a certain situation. Most often people will get the hint and understand the refusal to discuss. So this my present and the next it will be present by my friend Karen.
In everyday conversation, there are some suggestions for communicating with other people. First, don't try to finish other people's sentences. Let the speaker finish their sentence and listen to them mindfully. When they speak something that you don't understand, feel free to ask and receive the answer. Third, don't treat anyone with language problem differently. In fact, people who stutters is not a slow thinker. They only differ in their oral fluency. Last, let other people know what you need. Tell them your special need if you have one. Here are some effectiveness characteristics that we could apply in our daily life. First, when having a small talk, choose a topic that is non-controversial. Be positive and stress similarities rather than differences. Listen and be responsive to the other person, and also remember to leave the other person a chance to talk. When introducing people, usually the one that introduced has a higher level than the one that is being introduced. Making excuses need to have specific reasoning. Explain it to them, show the person that you are displeased, and promise them that it will never happen again. When apologizing, admit what you did wrong. Be sincere when apologizing. Avoid making excuses and be specific. Express understanding about how the other people feel. Give assurance that it will not happen again and choose appropriate channel. It will be best to not apologize via text if possible and just talk to them directly. When complimenting, be real and honest. Compliment in moderation. This means compliment that is too extreme. For example, this is the most beautiful plate that I've seen in my entire life. When giving a compliment, it is best not to qualify it. This may cause compliment to be backfired. For example, you play well for a girl. You look nice today. You have a great eyebrow for a guy. Be specific and personal in your feelings. Before advising people, listen to the person carefully. Try to emphasize and understand their saying. Be tentative. Maintain confidentiality. Avoid the word should. That's all from us. Thank you for listening. We are open for any question. Please drop it on the form below. Bye!